when George Floyd was murdered,
Yeah.
that cop car was burned down, and
Oh,
a photographer captured an image of the cop car that was burned down in front of my mural, and for 3 days, that was on the front page of the New York Times website. Had I gotten what I wanted and they moved that cop car, this incredibly iconic moment, one of the most searched image on Google in June of 2020, as I'm told, would never have happened.
hi everyone. I am Esther, and welcome to the From the Ground Up with Esther podcast, a podcast about growth, resilience, faith, and building a life with intention. This space is for anyone who's starting over, rebuilding, or taking the next step, one story and one lesson at a time. Let's get into the conversation. Hi, Marco. So nice to have you here and see you for the second time. The first time I met you was a TEDx talk that you gave in Stanford.
It's great to meet you. It's great to be here. Yeah, that was a fun night.
Yeah. So where do you live?
I'm in northern New Jersey.
O- Okay. And tell me a little bit more about you. What is it that you do? So from your TEDx talk and what I've seen online, you're an artist. Can you tell us a little bit of your background?
Yes, so my name is Marco Santini. I'm an impact artist. I mirror the spirit of communities around the world through interactive, collaborative designs. And that night was a huge night for me. It was my first ever TEDx talk. I did something that had never been done before, which was I
Mhm.
did an interactive live painting for the first few speakers where I was capturing their words around the logo of the TEDx Stanford event. And then I
Mhm.
gave the final TEDx talk where I shared my insights about what I heard and really showed how art can bring people together despite our differences.
Yeah. And it was beautiful to see that you were in the room and were able to create that art.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, I believe that there's a really powerful component of interactive art where bringing people into the conversation, having them feel creative, having them feel like they're part of something.
How do you find out about the TEDx talk? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I had speaking at a TEDx talk on my vision board for almost a year, but I hadn't really done anything with it. I was kind of being a little bit passive, just seeing what would come my way. And one night, it was a Friday night, and I just put my son to sleep. My wife was out with her friends. And I'm like, you know what? I have time. I'm going to look at totally randomly the next 10 upcoming TEDx talks that are in, 50, 100-mile radius and just blind email
Mhm.
10 different people. And so I looked on the TEDx websites, I connected through all these other secondary websites, and I sent out 10 random emails. I catered them to the location and to the person, and I looked it up, put all this time into it, and I didn't hear back from any except one. So I got 9 people didn't respond to me, and one person did. And what was fascinating about that was that he had a questionnaire to fill out. And the last question was he calls it like a gotcha question. So it said the last question was provide a video link of you speaking. And
Mm.
many people don't have video links of them speaking or doing events, but luckily I work with a social media video editor, and she had just put in a speaker reel together for me of all the places I've spoken around the world. And so I put that link up, and I was able to book a meeting with him. I got booked a meeting with him. So that was a Friday. Monday, I pitched him my idea, which was I know it's a little bit risky, but I want a live paid. I want to, capture what everyone says and then give a reflective speech about that and how my artwork brings people together. And he said, that's a little risky. That hasn't been done before. You are going to be capturing all these words. Can you do it in like an hour and an hour and a half? And he's like, okay, sit on it for a week, think about it, and then we'll talk the next week. And that week, I was like, okay, exactly. How can I do this? Like, I've done it at the United Nations. I've done it at Bloomingdale's. I've done it at all these major brands, and I've done it in India. I've done it in other countries. Like, I want to be able to do this. And I basically put down a very specific outlined way of exactly how it would work and convinced him that it would work. And he brought me on. So I share that story with a big smile on my face and in my heart because I think it's powerful to go out there and try to find what you want, and put
Yeah,
in the effort, the action to actually make it happen. And you just never know who's going to respond and believe in you. So it was a totally beautiful full circle moment.
that is beautiful. Brandon, I've worked with Brandon and he's such a wonderful person. He's like you. He always says just put it out there, reach out to people. So it is beautiful to hear how it all worked out for you guys.
And I think what's beautiful about that is I feel like you said, we're both on that similar vibe. Like, just put it out there, say what you want. I recently with my client meeting, that maybe last year or two, I say what the best case scenario is. I think about the best case scenario. People often say, the Stoics, they prepare for the worst case scenario. But you don't want to think too much about the worst case because then you don't want to be thinking negatively, but you want to be prepared for it. But if you think about what the best case scenario is, The best case scenario is that I am at this event, I am live painting, I capture everything, I finish it on time, I am the final speaker, and I speak about all the other speeches and why art brings people together. And I presented that to him, and that's what happened. And so I think just putting it out there in the universe, letting it happen, showing that you can do it, the world, the universe aligns in your favor.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and I was there, to actually experience this moment. I didn't know the background story. And in your picture, everybody was so happy. Everybody has a picture with it.
Yeah, it really became the moment after the event where everyone took a photo, everyone wanted to talk to me, and that happens when I painted all these events, but to be at a TEDx talk and having the speakers taking photos with their friends and family in front of it, people asking me, people, before the event, I talked to the members of the audience and I asked them for words and I painted in there. So they wanted to see where their words were. They wanted to see what the visual essence, what the reminders, what sticks out. Because at an event like that, and events in general, I mean, I open my speech like this, like we don't remember so much of what we do, the events we go to, the people we meet. There's so little that we can fit in our brain because there's just so much input all the time. So what are those things that you're going to remember? Those are the things you're going to feel. Those are the things that really resonate deeply with you. And so to create a visual, to reflect what people are saying into a painting, to have them remember that, not just with a photo, but a mental photo, really to me is kind of capturing what I do in a single snapshot.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And for you to be able to capture all of the words. And was the word community at the end?
The word at the end was connection. So
Oh,
my talk was
connection.
entitled "How to Build Connection Through Art," and it was, I would say, by far the most heard word that night from the audience, from the speakers. How do you build connection
Mhm.
with your family, with your friends, with your community, with your profession, with yourself, and just in so many different contexts? And the fact that that was the name of my talk, the fact that we can build connection despite our differences, I think is just so beautiful. And so I really wanted to focus on that, and it fit perfectly. And
Yeah.
it was amazing. I just saw I hadn't watched the talk since it happened. My wife recorded a version, I didn't watch it, and I just got the draft, a few days ago, and I watched it for the first time, and it was really kind of surreal. It was almost better than what I had imagined, and seeing the visuals and everything. And to me, success in that moment was I had so much I wanted to share. I had so much I wanted to contribute to this world and be able to capture it in a way that I felt was honest to myself, just
Yeah.
really felt like it was successful. And so when it goes out in the world, doesn't matter if it gets one view or a million views, like it's a
Mhm.
success and it happened. And I hope that people will see it and appreciate it and find a way to contribute to interactive moments, whether individual moments, capturing those moments to interactive, impact artists like myself, just really focusing on putting your phone down,
Mhm.
connecting in the moment and seeing the beauty in that.
Yes, that is beautiful. I'm so glad that that happened and everything worked out. I'm so happy you shared that story with us. Thank you to our season sponsor, Mary's Alfajores. They are melt in your mouth sweet treats. Alfajores are a South American traditional cultural pastry treat filled with manjar, a thick, creamy caramel made from milk and sugar spread, sandwiched by two delicious, soft, and delicate cookies that in combination melt in your mouth. If you're looking to impress with some cultural variety in your dessert tray, reach out to Mary's Alfajores as they service the Westchester, Fairfield County area and are readily available for catered events. You can reach Mary's Alfajores on Instagram at Mary's Alfajores. Mary's Alfajores, crafted with love, inspired by tradition. Can you take me back to your background story? Here, I'd like to go back from the ground up story or the moment that brought you to this point in your life.
Yes. So I didn't really understand that art could be a career. When I was young, I just loved experimenting and creating new things. I grew up in a very creative household where my father was an architect, my mother was a choreographer, and it really helped me to develop this creative environment. And I went to college and didn't really want to study art. And from there, I didn't want to be told what to do, what was expected of me, what was right or wrong. I just feel like art is about creative freedom and enjoying. And so I really wanted to kind of tap into that specific idea. And from there, I just kind of let it flow and ended up creating custom gifts for people. And it just kind of built up from there.
Wow. So how old were you when you realized this?
Well, I don't I wouldn't say that became a professional artist until 2018. That's when I say I found my life's purpose to spread love and positivity through art education. Um, but from there, really kind of took on a life of its own because I started creating in and around New York City. I had this One Love logo that has the word love in over 100 languages, which you saw at the event. And then I
Wow.
just created it at that time and decided that I was going to put it up all over New York City and had a really fun time putting up these stickers and wheat paste posters. It was very compelling kind of guerrilla campaign spreading love around New York City. And the biggest risk I ever took was putting my Instagram handle on it. But
Mm,
it really worked, and I didn't want
yeah.
to be caught. I wanted to be found, but within a few weeks, these Fortune 500s and weddings and galleries and charities and huge conferences were asking me to paint it, and it just kind of took on a life of its own.
That's amazing because sometimes when you step into that calling that you have inside of you, everything takes off, right? It's like you finally opened that door, that opportunity for yourself to do that.
Yeah, I think you have to present your own opportunities for yourself. And I think, you have to put yourself in a position to succeed. And so, even though I didn't necessarily know how to be a professional artist, how to get paid, how to figure it out, I just wanted to create opportunities that would allow me to be in a place to show my skill and to be around like minded people.
Yeah. And with that, I wanted to ask you more of the origin story. What shaped your identity growing up, and how is art now shaping your identity?
Yeah, I mean, being in a creative household, like I said, was really inspiring with all this art and unique modern designs. I grew up in northern New Jersey. I was in New York City for 15 years. And I think just being in New York City and feeling the vibe, every neighborhood, just, I would call it combing the streets of New York City, just walking and experiencing the architecture, the art, the designs, the people, the style, the fashion. There's so much in it that's really, really powerful.
Yeah. How was that first moment when you decided you opened yourself to this idea of art and doing it as a career? Then all these opportunities came. Can you talk to me about one specific moment, maybe at the beginning, that actually touched you?
I don't know if it was one moment. I mean, I think for me, learning was really focused on very specific moments, really through YouTube and through friends. Like I said, I was too immature at the time to go to art school and be told what to and what not to do. I felt like, creative freedom is so powerful, and to be able to just unleash your inner self is beautiful. So for me, if I wanted to learn something, I would talk to friends about it. I would ask YouTube, how do I move this in Photoshop? How do I create this in Illustrator? How can I play around with this in Procreate? And that really allowed me to explore and to do it without feeling guilty. I didn't know it, without feeling like I was less than. It really kind of allowed this positive freedom and support that I highly recommend to all my students and anyone that I speak with.
Since you mentioned the feeling of feeling less than, right? Why do you think maybe you felt that way before and you allowed art to kind of get you out of that feeling?
I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of having standards of what art is, what acceptable art is, what great art is. And to me, we're all artists in our own way. Good art to me is about storytelling. What kind of story are you sharing with your art? A story of yourself or someone else, a story of an idea or an event. But great art is about connection. Are you actually connecting with that art? Are you feeling it in a way that makes you want to talk about it, share it, have it in your home? That is what great art is. And I think at the time I was just really humbled and didn't think that my quality was up there, didn't think that I met a certain standard. And so to me, art is this giant spectrum, totally public and in front of everyone, but also on the other end, totally private and to yourself. And so being able to explore that without any judgment, I think is a really beautiful and freeing process that I know when I work at schools all around the world that, I
Mm,
try to show the students that there
yeah.
is a beauty in finding support and appreciation, finding your inner creativity, your inner flow in experiencing what art can do for you.
What would you say to those people that are also artists, and maybe find themselves at the beginning of stages of where you were before? Is there a message that you have for them?
Oh, there's many messages for young artists. I think it's really important to figure out what success means to you, not to have someone else's idea of success.
Mhm.
Figure out where you want to go, what you want to do. Do you want to be creating just for yourself and never showing it? Do you want to show with friends and family? Do you want to maybe have a few shows and try to make it a side hustle? Or do you want to make it a job? Do you want to make it your profession? There's a whole spectrum. And I think that can obviously evolve throughout your career. But figuring out the questions of, why are you doing it? What are you doing it for? What do you hope to feel? I think that's really good in terms of grounding and also figuring out where you want to go. And it
Mhm.
also helps you figure out what you want to learn, what you want to get better at. If you want to say, I want to be the best portrait artist in the world, you have to go out and create that. You have to learn from that. You have to see exactly how you can get there. And if you don't know, that's okay too. I think that's the beauty of art and being able to create, you know, to me, the beauty is in the creation, actually doing it, sitting down, despite if I want to or not, and being able to say, hey, I'm going to express myself. I'm going to try this new thing. And especially when you become a professional artist, like I've been very fortunate enough to be, and have
Mhm.
all these client projects and collaborations. Some days I'm super excited, and sometimes I got to fit it into my schedule. And sometimes, it's
Mhm.
the last thing I want to do because I've got a million different things, but I have to, as a professional, sit down and do it and find the time. I think that's when you can kind of level up as an artist to be able to say, even though I'm not feeling inspired, motivated in this moment, I'm going to find a way to get it done. And when you sit down, you do that work, and you
Mhm.
just kind of show the experience is paying off over and over and over again because you've developed that skill. It's really beautiful to have that finished product.
Yeah, that I agree with that. And what has been one of the hardest things, because art is beautiful, right? But the journey might seem beautiful, yes, too, but there are difficulties that come along the way. What has been
Oh man, many difficulties.
Mhm. Yeah. Can we go to that part too?
Yeah, I mean, I think being an artist is incredibly difficult. Being an entrepreneur is very difficult. There's the aspect of figuring out pricing and how do you price your work. I very often tell young artists giving away your art for free is very bad for business, but very helpful for marketing and branding and getting your name out there. That's how I started, right, with these custom gifts for friends and family, and then it kind of exploded from there. But yeah, so pricing your work is challenging, finding new buyers, finding how to get your audience, finding your vision, your voice. I think those are all very, very challenging. I think social media is incredibly challenging. I think great art will be found in some way on social media. If you have good art, you put it out there, it's going to be seen and appreciated. I think there's also a beauty in knowing that there's not one single way. You could hear from me and I could share some advice. You could hear from you or other great artists, and they'll tell you many different things. And it's really for you to internalize all these different ways that have worked for other people and see what works for you. It's a very individualized.
Mhm.
I feel it's very true in life as well. There's just so much advice. Everyone has their own hack, their own idea of what's best. And
Yeah.
you have to take it with a grain of salt, figure out what works for you, test a few things, see what works, what doesn't work.
Yes, you have to try it all. That's what my mom says. If you don't try, you don't know, right?
Yes.
If you fail, you don't know what it means to fail, and you don't grow. So it's good to share this.
I love that because yeah, it's not only if you don't fail, you don't grow, but if you don't expand, you don't try new things, you don't grow. If you're just doing the same things over and over again, yes, you're developing that muscle, you're getting better, but you're not getting out of your comfort zone. I feel like that the comfort zone can hold us back and feel really nice and great, but exploring, getting out there is where you can
Yeah.
really see some incredible growth.
Yes, yes. And for people, because it was my first time experiencing you in a room at the TEDx Talk, and it was incredible to see what you created at that moment from that energy that we all had, and especially Warm Heart Life and Brandon. He's created such a great environment. For someone like doesn't know you and wants to get to know you, how would you describe yourself to them?
So I call myself an impact artist. I mirror the spirit of communities around the world through interactive, collaborative designs. And I really am focused on connection, connecting with people, connecting in moments, connecting across
Yeah.
time. And to me, with my live painting, I don't come in and say, here's exactly what I want to do. I have a unifying symbol in the middle of the painting, either a One Love logo with love in over 100 languages or an event logo. And I try to capture what everyone is saying. I try to capture the visual essence of
Mhm.
that moment. So if you were to look at a single snapshot from an event, you'd look at my painting and say, this is what happened. And there's a few different reasons for that. One, for memory to say, hey, this is what we actually said. This is what we live by. Being authentic to yourself, I feel like is being true to, when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are aligned and capturing your words, writing them down, you can look back and say, hey, this is what we said. But I
Mhm.
also think there's a beauty in capturing the connected aspect of who we are together. I don't believe that my art creates connection. I believe that it reveals a connection that's already there. And despite our political, social, and religious differences, when we move together, when we meet together around a common theme, we can see that there's more that unites us and divides us. And so capturing
Mhm.
those words is a great reminder. It's a great way to see into the future. And it's a great way to reveal the connection that we all have.
Yes. Yes, and that takes me to this question. As an artist, because you go to different rooms and you experience a lot of, like you say, unity or different energies, atmospheres, everything. Can you take me to maybe one experience where you didn't feel like there was the connection you were expecting? What do you do at those moments? You have to go back to yourself and kind of connect the energy to yourself. What do you do when there's a room probably that didn't have the energy
Wow.
that would allow you to create the art you love?
Every room is different, and I really try to be a mirror where I come in without fear, without judgment, and I try to reflect back what I'm hearing and bring people in the moment to ask them some kind of unifying question or to capture that. I think there are certain instances where it takes a little bit of time for people to get going. I think people might see the first few words painted, they don't really know what's happening, but then they see someone speaking and me painting the word, or they see someone else contributing a word, and then they photograph it or share it on social media, and then people start, gathering in the crowd. You never know what to expect. I've experienced everything. I mean, what I shared in my TEDx talk, which was crazy, was when I was asked to live paint at the UN General Assembly, and I had the earpiece in my ear. I was listening to what all the delegates were sharing, and I captured all the words for over a few hours. And then I had finished my painting. I was so excited. It looked beautiful. Got a lot of compliments. But then at the end, something very unexpected happened, which was the delegates asked me to address them, and they give me no heads up. And so I basically put on the spot to talk to the world leaders. And I took a deep breath. And what happened, what came to me in the moment was the idea of authenticity. I just captured the
Mhm.
visual essence of that room for everyone to see. We said all this stuff. Let's make it real. Let's go out and do it. So that was part of it. But like I said, authenticity. Can you be true to your word? I feel like there's so much being said and there's just so much noise and garbage out there. Can you actually be true to yourself and be authentic? And so in capturing that and showing them,
Mhm.
what came to me in the moment was this idea of authenticity, when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are aligned. And when that is true, there's just a beautiful essence, a beautiful ease to living, to creating, to fulfilling what you say you're going to do. And so it was very, very unexpected. It was very, very nerve wracking. It ended up going very, very well. And the International Committee, the Red Cross, not only acquired the painting, but used that image as their holiday card that year and sent it out to over 100 different countries. And so I think there are many moments in my career when I can look back and say, this didn't happen as planned, but I had to adapt and figure out how to respond in a way that would. And when I have control over what I can do, I can't have control over what other people do. When I have control
Mhm.
of responding and making it beautiful, sometimes it's become even better than what I expected.
Yeah, sometimes those are the best moments, right? Because
Yeah, I
you're
mean, I was actually the first artist to paint over the wooden boards in Soho when everything shut down for COVID.
oh, wow.
Because I had this long-standing relationship with Bloomingdale's. To date, I've done over 20 different activations with them around the country, and when everything shut down during COVID, they asked
Mhm.
me to paint over their boards, and so they gave me full creative control, and I had this vision to create a mural of appreciation for first responders and essential workers. They were the only people on the streets. So on Earth Day 2020, I was out there on the streets. Nobody was out there. I saw less than 10 people the entire day.
Mhm.
And I painted this giant mural, love in many languages, positive messaging, bright colors. I really believe that surrounding yourself with bright colors and positive
Mhm.
message can directly improve your mental health and just give you that lift, that positive little smile when you walk by it. And I created this beautiful mural. I hired a photographer to come out to capture it. And there was a cop car right in front of my mural, and we couldn't get a wide shot of the building, of everything that was happening, and 2 sets of cops came that day, and they both asked me, "Are you doing this illegally? Should we arrest you?" I'm like, "No, I'm actually hired by Bloomingdale's, and I have this relationship with them." And I asked both sets of cops to move that car. That was my vision. I wanted them to move it so that I could get the wide shot, and both sets of cops said, "No. This this cop car stays here. It's meant to be for safety. This shows police presence." And so I didn't get what I want, and we got the photo, it was nice, and it ended up getting some publications, and it was awesome. But a few weeks later, when George Floyd was murdered,
Yeah.
that cop car was burned down,
Oh,
and a photographer captured an image of the cop car that was burned down in front of my mural, and for 3 days, that was on the front page of the New York Times website. Like, "Watch what happens live during the protests." So had I gotten what I wanted and they moved that cop car, this incredibly iconic moment, one of the most searched image on Google in June of 2020, as I'm told, would never have happened. So there is this idea of preparing for the best and trying to adapt to, not getting what you want. And I
wow.
look back at that moment, and I'm looking at the image in my art studio now. It's just incredibly powerful to see what can happen when things don't go according to plan.
Wow. Those moments are yeah. Wow. I'm like, wow, I can't. I don't have words, but that was what an impactful moment for your career, your life, the country, the world
Yeah.
that was.
And so Bloomingdale's ended up getting looted. They got broken into, but the mural wasn't destroyed. And Bloomingdale saw this as a moment of resilience. So they ended up taking those boards and bringing me to a few different locations around the country. And then I cut the boards up and sent them to collectors and, sold them to collectors, and actually got to keep a few in my studio in the back there. So 7 p.m. when we would clap for everyone, I used the B for Bloomingdale. So be mindful, goals, harmony, in this together, all these positive messaging. But it was very surreal and wild, crazy way to be in the New York Times for the first time. And just amazing to see how life works out.
Crazy way. Sometimes we have to be ready for the unexpected because
Yes.
we want to control things so much sometimes, but sometimes it's just better to let go and let God take care of it and you know. Yeah. Well, I'm glad, that actually worked out in a good way, regardless of how everything turned out. And with that, I have another question that actually goes with what you just mentioned. Basically, it's the kind of impact that you hope that your work leaves long term. What kind of impact?
I've thought about my personal title for a while, and I thought street art was cool in the beginning, so I called myself a street artist when I was doing these big murals and doing some work on the streets. And then I kind of thought that there was a certain edginess that I maybe wanted to associate with, but it didn't necessarily reflect exactly what I was doing. I think, we put these labels on ourselves or people label us, and it can be easy to just understand you based on that. And I try to distance myself from that, but I have been calling myself recently an impact artist. And I feel that people see my work and they see that title and they kind of put it together as someone who really wants to leave a mark, to make something that is
Yeah.
important to many people. And so, what even speaking that night at the TEDx conference, it wasn't just I came in that one night, did the live painting, speaking, left. Every time I do a major event, I always come in before that event and do something in the community. So I ended up going to the Boys and Girls Club in Stamford, Connecticut, where I talked to a few hundred kids and asked them what's important to them, did an interactive art assignment with them, and then took their words and created a painting that was then put up in their space. And so it's this idea that when a beautiful event happens and when everyone leaves, we know that because we were there, because I was there, and we
Yeah.
all, collectively came together, we beautifully impacted the community for longer than the event, that we're leaving that mark. And so I think there is an idea of collaborative nature to my work that I love, and bringing people into the conversation, having them have their word, their say, being able to hear them, I think is so powerful. And then trying to visualize that in a way that they can have a reminder, a mural, a painting, something in their space, something that I really love. And even to that point, when I create my custom One Love paintings for people, I never thought about this before being an artist, but very often when I create those, especially as surprises for birthdays or gifts or weddings or anniversaries, very often people get emotional and they cry when they see the work. And
Mm,
it's just to think
really?
that my work and the community, their family, all these people coming together to share a word about who they are, what they mean to them, to think that art can make people cry like that is just so
Mhm.
amazing and just emotionally powerful. And I think it's really super grateful to be in a position to capture what people think and feel and showcase that in a way that, aligns with my purpose.
That is beautiful. I love that for you. That is beautiful. And what would you say success means to you right now?
I've had many, many different versions of success. Think I kind of go back and forth. I think to me, success is being able to create what I want when I want from wherever I want. So there's an aspect of creative freedom, but I also think there's an element of being able to share your gift with the world, whatever it is that you have that makes you special, that you can do and that only you can do, and being able to really translate that and honor that when you feel it, when you don't. That is success. I think success is a mindset. I think about the word success throughout the day when I have a beautiful moment with my family or creatively with my clients. I just think that the idea of success can be very, very transformative in many ways. And I go in and out of all these different versions. And that's why I think it's so important for people to define their own version of success so they have a point where they can go to. And so, among all those, ideas, I do have a very creatively freeing profession where I can create very flexibly, which I love. Able to
Yeah.
spend extra time with my family, spend time on my mental health, spend time physical health, and work my jobs in around that. And I think this idea of a successful mindset. Thinking about that, being really positive in every interaction, being able to share the love that you want to see in the world, I think is
Yeah.
great. And I think just being able to share what I have, and being fortunate enough that I've found a way to make money with it, to have people
Mm.
support me and believe in me and who want to see this good that I want to share in the world. They want to help me get it there. So it's definitely a mixture of all those things.
It is. It is. And it changes with time, like you said, right? It
Totally.
changes. Mm-hmm.
How
And
would you
that's
define success?
me.
Yeah.
Say so for me, yes. I was actually thinking about it this week because they had some things happened with family and things like that. And success for me means being having that unity with my family being able to have them around, have that, have a roof over my head, have a job, have, food on my table, the simple things of life. That's what it means to me, success. And because the world is so unpredictable, like we were just talking, and to me, that's what it is. And to me, that's the most important thing is my family and to have them close by me. I was thinking that yesterday and today because I had some like family things coming up. And then my friend told me her husband had an accident. And then my dad had an accident. And I was just thinking, wow, it's all that matters to me. Is that my family, my closest friends, and then be able to provide the gifts that I have right now with the podcast it's just been beautiful. And as you mentioned, being able to share the gifts that we have, because sometimes I used to think sometimes, oh, it doesn't matter. It's just this little thing. As you share your experiences too, makes me think once we open that door to ourselves and that opportunity to open the gifts that we have inside of us for other people is just beautiful.
I love that. Yeah, I recently been very inspired by the idea that life and love are infinite games. Like the goal
Mhm.
is to keep the game going. And what kind of ways do you share your love with the people that are important to you to make those relationships flourish? You vote with your time. So how are you spending your time with them?
Yeah.
I think your definition is beautiful, and I think it very relevant to a lot of people.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, family. I have a 1-year-old nephew, and it's just being able to at least spend one time a week with them that is the most successful thing. Sometimes during the week too, being with that little person. Yeah. Thank you
Of
for asking.
of course.
Yeah, and going back to the artist part, what would you say to someone that feels called to create? Kind of answered this earlier, but someone that feels called to create but doesn't know where to start.
I think exploration, creativity, being open, all those things are very, very important. I think just sitting down and trying it. When I was starting out, I didn't have money for stuff. I'd find random supplies in my apartment, or I would just, try to figure out ways to express myself and just getting it out there, seeing what works, what doesn't. Why am I doing it? Am I doing it, for what reason? And then, an early version of success for me was having enough money to cover all my bills and then have enough money to buy art supplies. That was kind of an early version. And then when I had that, I felt like a king, like, oh, I could buy the markers I want to paint, the brushes, the canvases I want and go create. And I was just like, that was so freeing and so beautiful. But I think everyone has their own relationship with art. You see a lot of people turning to art during challenging times. You see a lot of people turning to art toward the end of their life. I think it's always within us, but we sometimes maybe forget about it and we
Yeah.
get focused on different things. And so, how do you express your creativity is just something that when you do it and you do it for the right reason, or you just see it come to fruition, is something beautiful. I mean, I define creativity as turning thoughts into actions. We all do that. How we got dressed today, how we showed up here today, how we walked from wherever to get here. Like all those are creative, interesting ways. We thought in our head first, and then we did.
Yeah.
Art is not necessarily just, hey, I can only draw stick figures. I'm not an artist. No, creativity is everything. But when you have an idea and you can take that and translate it into something through any medium, I find that can be incredibly freeing and just incredibly educational to learn about yourself, to learn about your motivations, to learn why you're doing it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So true. And what is the message you feel most compelled to share right now in this season?
Wow. I think a big part of my TEDx talk was this idea of really being pro-human. You know,
Mhm.
my art collectors recently called me the anti-AI artist. She said, "You create these moments in real time. You bring people together. You capture this creative, collaborative moment, and you can never be replaced by AI." And I really kind of liked that. It made me smile. I told a few people about that. Had the term anti-AI artist, but really focusing on pro-human. That is how I feel in terms of what makes us unique, being able to feel, to be connected, to really kind of separate ourselves. And, we can use the digital world and all the AI tools and everything that's out there, but what really separates us? And so I have a book coming out. I have a whole, new plan with this TEDx talk and ideas, just really celebrating this idea of who we are, what makes us unique, and bringing that together in a way that we relish in the fact that there's more that unites us than divides us. When we see each other as human and not as Democrat, Republican, not as one country versus another country. Like we can boil it down to that, I really feel that there's something incredibly powerful and unifying. I think we saw it all recently with the the NASA trip around the moon and like just feeling so far, like all your problems, everything you've ever had, all the people ever in existence have only lived on that one, tiny blue dot and that perspective.
Mm.
We channel that on an everyday basis if we don't, can't go to the moon ourselves. I think there's a way that art can capture that and bringing people together and sharing their, how much is in common between two people is incredible. And not focusing on the negative, not focusing on the differences. I think it's just an incredibly uplifting and empowering way to look at humanity.
It is true. I totally agree. And I think the same. We're all looking for the same thing. Be happy,
Mhm.
provide for our families, bring hope and joy. And we have different ways, but when we think about it and without the differences that we might have, we're actually looking for the same thing. And that's what unites us the most. So I agree. And just to mention the creativity that we have, right? I am a big believer in God and that He is the creator of the universe. So we have also that creativity in us. And as you mentioned, we have different ways of create. So that is very inspiring to know and hear from you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think whatever religion, whatever belief you have, I was very religious growing up, and I remember taking a world religions class and learning about all these different religions, and it was fascinating to me. Like, how can my one religion be the one that's right and every other one be the one that's wrong? Like,
Mhm.
it kind of messed with my brain a little bit. So I think if you distill religions down to love and to appreciation and respect, they all really kind of share the same things. And I studied some anthropology in college, and most religions answer the same three questions. Where do we come from the past? What are we doing here at the present? And
Mhm.
where are we going in the future if when we die? And so they've all translated into different ways and have different people in charge and different rules. But if you really distill it, there's so much that's similar, at least at the core of it. And I think it's easier to see that as we compare different religions and look at each other as more similar than different.
Yes, we are more similar than different. I agree. And what are you building next that excites you? And you will let us know.
Oof. So writing a book had been definitely been challenging. It really started last year. I was actually asked to give my first ever college lecture, and the professor told me my favorite phrase, "You can do whatever you want." And usually when I'm creating, like, my best murals, my best art comes when I have this creative freedom. And the professor told me I could do whatever I wanted, and it was really this weight I felt like I'm talking to these young college students about, inspiring them to know what the art world is about. And I really took it seriously. I put this huge presentation together, and I get there that day, and they're feeling really low and down and tired, and I started so loud and so intense, and they got to attention. And I was there for 90 minutes. The bell rang. Nobody moved. I was still talking. They stayed with me for a while, and it was just so amazing to share some of the lessons, the ideas about being creative in all these different ways. And that was kind of a soft launch for the ideas. I mean, I mentor students, I mentor artists, I have all these different things that I do, and I've never kind of captured it into a system. So I really feel that there is this synergy between my TEDx talk coming out, creating this book that I just printed out my first draft I'm looking at right now, and potentially putting out a course about just being more creative, about tapping into your inner artist, and teaching you some of the things that maybe you don't necessarily learn at art school. I mean, I didn't go to art school, so I wouldn't know, but I think there are modern lessons that I've really captured that I think could be really helpful for people. And so it's exciting to me in the fact that I'm bringing a lot of my knowledge to help other people and to share these ideas that I've kind of individually shared one on one with different people. And so it is definitely exciting and also a bit nerve wracking. I've never written a full book before. I've never put a full course together, even though I started out in the educational world. But I do feel compelled. I feel when you have something so powerful to share, like, it's almost more of a fault if you don't share it. Like, you have this responsibility to share that beauty, that love, that appreciation you have with other people who could benefit from it. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited for you. And I know I haven't written a book, and I mean, I'm so proud of all my friends that do it because I know it's not easy.
Yeah,
But
I think if you have something to share, if you're able to really bring it in, and anyone can be part of my talk and part of my messaging. Anybody can be a musician, anybody can be an artist, anybody can be a writer with AI, right? You could create a
mm,
prompt, you can do this stuff, but do you actually have something that is going to give some deeper insight into the world we live in, to what you are sharing, what your expertise is? And so that was really a fun challenge trying to be like, all right, I'm not going to be writing this with AI. I'm not going to be constantly bringing it back and forth. I'm gonna really try to focus on things that maybe aren't my strengths, but I wanna get better at, and so it was, we will see, but I'm very, very excited and very grateful that the first draft is done, but very, I think it's gonna be very helpful to a lot of people, so that makes me feel
Yes.
really awesome.
Yes, that is very exciting, and I'm excited for you and can't wait to see more of your work out there. Yeah.
Thank you, and yeah, a big project I have, I mentioned also in the talk, but later this summer, one of my artwork designs was selected to go to the moon with the Griffin lunar lander, so I won this contest for the Impact Award, that kind of linked up with the UN sustainability goals. And so I had a One Love logo, love in over 100 languages. And I asked all these people around the world what the moon means to them, what message they would send to the moon. And I captured their words around the One Love logo. And it got etched onto a gold plate. And it's going to live on the moon because when you send a lunar lander there, it goes there, it creates some samples, it takes photos and
Yeah.
sends them back. But then it doesn't fly back, it just stays there. And so to think
Yeah.
that a piece of my art is going to live on the moon forever is still
Wow.
very surreal. And when when officially launches and gets there, it will feel a little bit more real. But wow, just like every time I look up there, my son is obsessed with the moon. We look at it
Oh,
every night, and just to think like, I'm going to have a piece of on there is pretty cool.
that is wonderful. That is wonderful. I'm so glad we got the chance to connect and meet in person and now over a video to get to know you a little bit more and these exciting things that are going on with you. I can't wait to hear more and I see more things on social media.
Thank you, Esther. It was great meeting you. You had a great energy and positive connection when we first spoke, and I learned about your podcast, and I think it's really informative to just be connecting with people, learning from each other, and sharing the things that are important to us. So I'm grateful for your time, and thank you for having me.
No, thank you. And tell us before you go, where can people find you and how can they connect with you if they would like to bring you on one in their rooms?
Yes, so my best connected social media language is Instagram, underscore Marco underscore Santini underscore, and then my website, marco-santini.com. I'm trying to get into more social media outlets. It's so overwhelming. Instagram is where I started and where I found my audience, and that's what I love, connecting up with people. So you can
Yes.
find me on there.
Yes, I know social media, it's a lot of work. Even myself, this new world is different and keeps changing all the time.
I create this content and everyone's just like, "Just put it on TikTok, just put it on YouTube Shorts, just do that." I'm like, "I really gotta do that." I actually got a job recently just by posting an Instagram video on LinkedIn, and someone I hadn't talked to forever saw that I was doing art, had a big event, it was in California, flew me out, had this big, launch event, and so it really just goes to show you that putting your artwork in as many putting your creations in as many places as possible, you never know who's gonna see, you don't know if people
Yeah.
only look at one social media platform, they only look at one place, but, if you have the content, put it out there and
Yeah.
see who sees it where and see where it resonates.
Yes, that's so true. Great reminder for myself too. Yeah, well, thank you so much. I'm so happy you joined me. And for everyone that's listening, please like, follow Marco on Instagram, social media, like this podcast, share with your friends. And the name is From the Ground Up with Esther. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, everywhere. And we can share more of the art that we all create with the world. Thank you
Okay.
so much for watching.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Esther.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, follow, subscribe, and leave us a review as your feedback continues to help us grow this podcast. If you have any questions or would like to connect, we are on Instagram at From the Ground Up with Esther, or you can email us at esthermoscoso.pod@gmail.com. And as always, thank you to our show sponsor, Mary's Alfajores, delicious sweet treats that melt in your mouth. I will see you on the next episode.